If you're looking for more horror outside of the mainstream, look no further than Unsung Horrors, a podcast about underseen horror movies. I'm Lance.
And I'm Erica. Every other week, we'll cover a horror movie with fewer than 1,000 views on Letterboxd. We'll even give you double feature recommendations to pair with the movies we discuss.
From gothic to shot on video, from slashers to comedies, from giallo to J-horror, we'll cover all the subgenres. So join us as we unearth these hidden gems of horror.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at Unsung Horrors, available wherever you listen to podcasts. And part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hello, this is Aaron West. I am the author of the A24 New Wave. In this book, I look at A24's output and I make the argument that we are in a new wave movement right now. A24 plays a major role. This book has a supplemental podcast where each episode is a brief conversation about an A24 related topic, whether an actor, director, or even a genre. As I continue research for the book and conduct interviews, I expect to record podcast episodes with people involved with the company. You can find the podcast at cinejourneys.com or wherever you find podcasts, and we are proud to be members of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Weirding Way Media.
Night, Mr. Walters.
You see that guy over there? No, he's an actor. The guy on the phone? He's a prize fighter. Me? I'm a cab driver. I'm the only cab driver in this place.
Hello and welcome to Night, Mr. Walters, a taxi podcast. I am your co-host, HP, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Father Malone. Father Malone, how are you this evening?
Let's get some meat behind the wheel.
We're here to talk about Taxi episode 17 this week. This is called Bobby's Big Break. This one was written by Barry Kemp, and it's directed, of course, by James Burrows. A quick reminder, we are doing these shows in broadcast order and not in order of filming. In this episode, we begin in the garage as Louis is giving out his cab assignments. Alex informs Louis that Bobby isn't in yet. He says that he has an important audition. And Burns, we haven't seen much of Burns in the last couple episodes, Burns feigns enthusiasm by saying, "That's great," to which Alex, showing just how little he believes in Bobby, figures that his absence is an indication that he's depressed because he didn't get the part that he went out for. Alex is assuming that Bobby didn't get the part.
Well, to be fair, what's probably happened is Bobby has said, I got a big audition tomorrow, and then he hasn't shown up for work, and then he comes in and he says, I'm so depressed, I didn't get the job. This is probably a pattern of behavior that Rieger has to deal with like on a yearly basis, and so he's just like, oh, well, he just didn't get the part, he didn't show up again.
So probably this isn't the first time that he's done this, so it would make sense. But then Bobby comes in, and he's got the weirdest spaced out, dazed smile on his face. It looks like he was just shot by Cupid's arrow. He had that kind of look on his face.
Yeah, it's great. You know he got the part as soon as he turns the corner. It's that airy kind of like, I cannot believe this is happening to me kind of a thing. Yeah, I like his part. You're right. It's like he's been struck by Cupid's arrow.
He says, as you said, he got the part. He has 2 appearances on a soap opera called For Better or For Worse.
No, it's called For Better For Worse.
I thought it was For Better or For, because For Better For Worse was a comic strip.
No, For Better or For Worse is a comic strip. It still is. The soap opera on Taxi is called For Better For Worse. The lettering, let me point out, for the font that they've used is basically the Mr. Rogers font.
Is it? I thought it was more like the I Love Lucy kind of script.
Oh, no. It's very, it's not cursive in any way. And it has certain letters spiral out, just like the R is too long. Anyway, you check it out. You'll see what I'm saying.
I love that we see the soap opera within the Taxi universe eventually. We'll get to that. Oh, another side note. Tony's at it again. He's opted to sit on the hood of the cab instead of a chair like a normal person. Maybe I hate Tony. Maybe I have to admit it to myself.
You hate Tony, man.
I guess I do, because there was a previous episode of the podcast where I had to protest because you said, well, it's obvious you hate Tony.
Everything he does is like, look at this tough guy bullshit. It's like, okay, clearly you do not like Tony Banta. You would not be hanging with Tony if you worked in that garage.
At turns, he seems to be a sweet guy whose heart is always in the right place. But these little peccadillos of his just drive me crazy, or they have been recently.
I like Tony. I like all of his macho bullshit.
They're talking a little bit. Bobby is lamenting. This isn't, he's happy that he has this part on the soap opera, but it's not really where he saw himself embarking on his acting career. But he's excited. He says it'll give him a chance to get some exposure and he'll continue to hone his craft. The whole prospect, you can just tell he's on cloud nine. This is the culmination of all of his work up to this point. And we're so happy for Bob as viewers because we can see how happy it makes him. His first appearance on the soap opera is going to be this coming Friday. I think maybe this is a Wednesday, let's say. And then his second appearance is slated for the following Tuesday. And if things go well, Bobby reckons that he might get more appearances. Who knows? We know how soap operas work. If a character catches on, then they're going to write for that character.
Alex suggests he'll be a full-time character, which that's what he kind of shrugs like, oh, it could happen.
He's pumping him up a little bit too. To Alex's credit, he's finally giving him a little bit of credit. Like, hey, he says this weird thing, and the line reading always makes me a little bit crazy when I hear it. He goes, "You son of a gun, you did it!
You did it!" Yeah, I have that written down. I was like, what is he doing? Is he doing an impression that we're unaware of?
It's almost like an Old West kind of Southern kind of, hey, you son of a gun, you did it. I don't know.
Yeah, like a Walter Brennan or something, like he's talking to John Wayne. Oh, you son of a gun, you did it.
They're overjoyed for Bobby. Everyone's overjoyed. His character in this show, for better for worse, is named Skip. Now, first of all, like, when's the last time you knew or met anyone who had the name Skip? Is this just a name that we don't see? Doesn't happen anymore. We don't hear that name anymore.
Geez, I'm actually trying to think now if I've ever met a Skip in my life.
The only one I've ever heard of, I think, is probably Skip Stevenson from, was he on Real People or Kids Are People Too? What was the show he was on?
He was on one of those. I don't know. I remember Skip Stevenson, certainly. Why? I don't know. Because his name was Skip.
And is Skip short for something, or is that just a nickname? What is Skip? Skipper. Anyway, I was struck by the fact that his character's name was Skip. You never hear the name Skip. At least anymore. I can say with all confidence, I've never in my life met a Skip. His character was involved with one of I think the leading lady of the show. His character got amnesia, but he's recovered. Wheeler, this is another weird line reading. He does this thing where he says, but he's recovered and he's coming back home. And he does this thing where he pumps both arms.
Yeah, like he's fucking. Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird thing because he's talking about amnesia and all this weird soap opera stuff. I get it. He's excited, but Bobby, calm down.
The arm pumping motion reminded me of Grease Lightning. It's a stylized way to indicate that you're having sex, right?
Yeah, but maybe that's just muscle memory for Conway.
Because it came very naturally to him. Lockyer comes over and congratulates Bobby by wishing him bad luck. And there's this back and forth about what bad luck versus good luck means. I'm not gonna belabor the point. We come back from commercial. And we cut to a shot of, or for better for worse, being played on a TV in the garage. And all the cabbies are sitting around watching this episode. I think this is the Friday that he's going to make his first appearance. Bobby hasn't appeared yet, but he's due to make his appearance after the next commercial. And they're talking about it. And the show picks back up, and the main leading lady confides her feelings for Skip to her friend. She has a friend in the room with her, and they're having this conversation. The woman who's having this conversation with the main leading lady is Michelle Conaway. She is actually Jeff Conaway's sister. I didn't even know that he had a sibling, so that's interesting. This was written about in the official fan guide. They talk about this.
Did not know that.
As told in the fan guide, Michelle Conaway had auditioned for the main part for his love interest. But as Conaway recounts, and this is direct quotes here, he said, Ed Weinberger came by and he said, hey, Jeff, your sister's real good and everything, but we can't have her kissing you on the show. I laughed. He was right. They offered her the other role instead. This is lunacy. Like, why would they ever entertain the notion that his sister would play his love interest in this fake soap opera? It's mystifying to me.
Just wanted to get his sister a role in the show. He didn't care what it was.
Actually, another interesting tidbit. maybe especially interesting for you, Father Malone. I'm not sure how interesting this is for the rest of the listeners, but the woman who plays the lead, this woman who is involved with the character of Skip, is played by Amanda McBroom. Do you know who Amanda McBroom is?
No.
She was familiar to me. I didn't know what she was in. She looked familiar, and I looked her up. She's had a bunch of credits. I'm not going to go through them all, but what I knew her from, and I was reminded of this, is she was in an episode of season 2 of Star Trek: The Next Generation. There was an episode you probably remember where there was a hearing to decide whether Data, the android character, was property, because they wanted to deactivate him and dissect him and see what made him tick. Amanda McBroom played the judge advocate general captain that presided over the hearing. So there's this hearing about whether is he sentient, is he property, what happens, and of course it comes out in Data's favor. But she was like the woman that presided over this whole trial. I thought that was interesting. The last person I expected. Do you remember that episode now?
Oh yeah, I remember it thoroughly. Of course, she was sort of villainous in that. Yeah, I had no idea that was her. Good to see. I love when actors get to continue to work and show us what they can do. By the way, the thing I was leading up to had nothing to do with Jeff Conaway or his sister. It's the wheelchair business. It's the sort of punching down jokiness where the joke is that it takes her extra time to swivel around in this conversation. Now, that's how it comes off anyway. But then I was really I watched it a few times. And I think what the joke that they're going for here is that the ridiculous turns and pauses inherent in soap opera acting become even more so when you're forced to physically do something in order to get there. I think that's the joke. But it just kind of looks like they're making fun of the person in the wheelchair. At
the end of the day, I think they're having some fun with the tropes of a soap opera. I didn't think it was punching down to make fun of a disabled person. I thought it was just, how ridiculous is this? And the character, the leading lady, is going on and on about, like, does she love Skip? Does she not love Skip? Does she da-da-da? So it goes on for a while, and I think that was the joke. At least that's how I took it.
They keep turning away from each other, then turning back and turning away and turning back. And they always do that in soap operas. And what a ridiculous thing that they do that at all.
The scene plays out on the soap opera, and then Bobby, his character Skip, finally makes his appearance. He walks through the door with this sort of smoldering look on his face.
He looks like Patrick Bateman's mentor.
He does look kind of creepy as he walks in, because you don't know whether he's going to kiss or kill somebody.
Looks like a little bit oversized pinstripe suit, and he's got the full blowout going with the hair. He comes off a bit menacing, honestly.
He does, but he only has one word. He just says hello, and then the show is over, and that's the end of the soap opera episode. The cabbies all ask Bobby what's going on next, and Bobby says he won't know until they get back to it on Tuesday. Alex does his best to pump him up a little bit. He's really hyping the possibility that they might develop the character into a full season. Like we said, he wants Bobby to have some confidence and some hope that this will turn into something. But then Louis comes in to rain on Bobby's parade, and Louis says he doesn't think so. And he goes through all these reasons why the leading lady won't go for Skip, because there's all these other characters and things. And he basically betrays the fact, Louis betrays the fact that he watches this soap opera. That's the joke, is that Louis, this sort of tough guy, watches a soap opera.
Best part of the episode.
DeVito plays it, as he always plays everything, with really, really well. My mother watches it. It's the only time I can get her to stop yapping. He does this thing with his hand, and it's really funny.
We've all had this happen, right? Where we all become a TV show fan by osmosis because somebody we love watches a show that ordinarily you would never turn it on. You wouldn't even think to watch it. And then suddenly it's season 4 and you're conversant in all of the characters and plot lines.
Right. For me, I have to say, like, my wife would watch Grey's Anatomy when it was first on. You can't help it. You're in the room, your focus shifts, and the next thing you know about all the characters and whatever. It's at least you admit to yourself that it's this crap TV, but whatever, I'm watching it. So that's what Louis does here. He's basically protesting, like, his mother watches the show and he's got to watch it with her. At that point, a messenger comes in and delivers the next script. Now, the thing is, the script is literally like 4 pages. I guess we're supposed to assume that they're only sending him the pages that he's directly involved in, Father Malone. Do you think that's what's happening?
Correct. Those are his sides. Those are his scenes for the day.
I figured that was the case, but it's like literally 4 pages. And he furiously scans through the pages. And Bobby, again, he has this look on his face. He's dumbfounded. And he announces that she loves Skip, which is opening the door to more appearances. And now Bobby is overjoyed. He says he's finally made it. He can call himself a real actor. And all this comes out. All these years of working and scraping and scratching his way have finally paid off.
This is the son of a gun. You did it. This is where that line comes from.
You're right. This is where it happens. And it's just the weirdest line reading from Rieger. Bobby starts to taunt Louis. Bobby said he tries to give Louis his hack license, says, I don't need this anymore. But Louis says, you better hang on to it. You're going to need it for when you come crawling back to the garage. And then Bobby says the damning words, when I walk out those doors, I'm never coming back. Following is one of my favorite bits of Taxi dialogue of all time, bar none. And I think we've made reference to this. Louis says they all come back. Only one guy made it out in the whole history of the garage. And who is that, Father Malone?
James Caan.
And the tag is, and he'll be back. I love the fact, and we talked about this in previous episodes, I love the fact that they picked James Caan of all people. Like they could have, at the time, let's say like Burt Reynolds was a much bigger star. They could have used Burt Reynolds, but it would have seemed so much more unbelievable than unrealistic. But James Caan, you could imagine.
James Caan is from New York, right? So yeah, there's that. But they could have said Al Pacino, who was arguably a bigger star than James Caan at that point. But he never would have driven a cab. James Caan would have.
It's entirely believable. It's so well delivered. It's so funny. It has a funny little tag to the end of it, because even with all the success that James Caan has had, he says he'll be back.
If this series does not end with James Caan returning to work, then they done fucked up royally.
That would be something, and we'll have to just keep everybody in suspense. But that would have been an incredible way to end the series.
Before we got there.
Yeah.
Before we got to the Louis and Conaway exchange, when Wheeler is reading the script, my favorite part of the entire episode, when I said this is the best thing, the best bit of business in the episode is Danny DeVito reading over Wheeler's shoulder, and he's mouthing the words as Wheeler is saying them.
Yeah.
Like he's reading the script. And then how excited he is when he runs off with the pages. Like, yes, it's just my ma watches it. Oh, no. He's really a fan of the show.
He has to know what's happening. And like you said, he takes the script as Bobby and Alex are talking, and he's gone over to where the coffee machine is, and he's reading through the script, scanning it to, number one, to confirm what this woman loving Skip now. But you can tell that he just wants to know what's coming up in the next episode or two. So yeah, I love it. At this point, Louis, after he says this great thing about James Caan, Louis then further taunts Bobby by calling him a loser. He basically says, you're a loser then, you're a loser now, you're always going to be a loser. In response, Bobby takes his hack license and tears it up into little bitty pieces. And Louis warns Bobby again, you'll be back and he'll be waiting. By he'll, I mean Louis. Louis is just licking his chops because he knows that he'll be back.
Can I just say what I wrote in my notes here, which is, Wheeler, what are you doing? You got a script confirming one more appearance, potentially. Do not tear up your license.
It's hard to see that and not know exactly where this episode is going to go. We know that this isn't going to turn out well. This is Taxi. He's not going to get the brass ring at this point in season 1. It's not going to happen. We cut away to another wonderful snowy B-roll. Again, it's always winter in New York in this universe.
Not only is it a B-roll of winter, it's a crazy fucking process shot of snow that's just layered on. It's another one of we saw this with rain in an earlier episode where the rain, it's a tracking shot, but the rain remains in stasis. So like here, it's zooming in on Bobby's apartment, but the snow moves all weirdly around. Anyway, I don't know. There's a lot of snow problems here.
Throughout the ensuing scene, we're inside Bobby's awesome basement apartment, and you see out the window, there's a little slender window right near the door, and there's somebody just throwing fake snow across the window through the whole scene. It's like he never ever stops. I don't know if you noticed this.
Well, no, what I drew from that is that obviously Wheeler's pad is smack dab in the middle of some meteorological oddity, because you can stand on one of the stairs that lead down to his apartment and it's just a pleasant wintry evening, but one step down, blizzard.
It's crazy. It's not like some machine just dribbling the snow, because it's not coming down in any consistent fashion. It's like dribble, dribble, drab, dribble, dribble, drab. It's just somebody absently throwing fake snow kernels past the window. Bobby is soulfully picking on the old acoustic guitar. I think we've seen the guitar on the wall in prior episodes, but now he's actually got the thing down. He's plucking away at this thing. I couldn't notice that as much as I could notice the TV that he's sitting in front of is the dirtiest, grimiest TV there ever was. All we see is the back of the TV, but it looks like it's been severely burned and charred. And did you notice that as well?
Oh yeah, it looks like somebody spilled water onto the tube at one point, and there was a flash, and it charred the back, and then like they turned the tube off quickly enough that they were able to recover it, and then they left it in the trash. And then one day Bobby Wheeler was walking home and went, "Hey, TV!"
It looked like a TV in some prison or something. It's just so grimy. It's a white TV, but streaked with blackness. It's awful. And the rest of the cabbies come in. They haven't seen him in the garage for a couple of weeks, and he hasn't returned their phone calls. So they're all concerned, and they're wondering, like, well, what's going on with Bobby? And Alex even throws in this notion that maybe Bobby has moved on from his loser cabbie friends. Like he's in a rarefied atmosphere of acting or what have you.
Yeah, he says it really aggressively too, because he's like, maybe we'll come back later. Maybe we won't come back at all.
Very, very passive aggressive. But then Bobby says he hasn't been returning their calls because he's been depressed. But he won't tell them. He just doesn't come out and say why he's depressed. Alex is pressing him on it. And then Bobby, in response, Bobby just turns on the TV, and we cut back to For Better, For Worse, the soap opera within the show. And there's been an accident with Skip. They show him in the hospital. He's on a gurney. He's got this ridiculous set of bandages encircling his head. It looks it's silly.
Very soap opera, sure.
It's very soap opera. And the leading lady is there. With his last remaining bit of strength, he's expressing to her how much he loves her. And just as he does that, he dies right there on the gurney, which makes there's been this running joke that the leading lady cries when she's happy. She cries when she's sad. She cries when she doesn't know if she's happy or sad. So she starts crying. He turns off the TV, and now we know he's off the show. They killed him.
Hold on. I just want you to know, HB, and our listeners, if they're wondering, that a technologist, they maintain and troubleshoot sophisticated laboratory equipment, and then they analyze test results and discuss them with the medical staff. I bring that up because for some reason, framed in the shot during the entire soap opera sequence is a plaque behind them that reads Patricia McCauley, technologist 102.
It's that big you could read it in this little TV?
Oh my God, it's the only thing I could focus on the entire scene. Technologist, like, wow, what's a technologist? What do they do?
The cat's out of the bag. We know that he's off the show. And the cabbies all try to console Bobby, but he doesn't want it for obvious reasons. He doesn't want to go back to the garage. He just doesn't think he can do it because of Louis. He's made such a show of telling Louis he'll never be back, ripping up his act license and everything. Alex tries to buck Bobby up a little bit, and Bobby basically says, well, you know what, maybe I'll go in, I'll get it over with, and I'll move on.
A couple of things I want to mention about this scene.
Yeah.
Notice Elaine Nardo in browns and burgundies here. Earlier, she's in a bit of yellow. Top form. Good work.
They've redeemed themselves from the robe incident from Lame Duck.
Yeah, now, okay, so that's one thing. Another thing is, are there no other cab companies in New York City? Come on, Bobby. I mean, if you don't, oh, wait, you don't have a hack license, dummy. Good, you're getting what you deserve. Okay, there's that. And then there's this, HP.
Yeah.
Okay. Bobby has been gone for a couple of weeks, right? They make that clear. We haven't seen you in a few weeks, which means he's been consistently working on the show. That show is either taped a day of or 2 days prior, right? I think it's a day of. So he's watching the episode that they taped earlier that day. So he's been working on this show consistently for 2 weeks. maybe not every day, but let's say 3 times a week, past 2 weeks, right? How much do you think he earns a week as a cabbie?
He was brought into the show on a temporary basis. I'm sure they made it clear to him, but you would have to assume he's making a lot more money at this job than he ever did driving a cab. I think that's
Now,
your
look,
point.
I could find the SAG minimum scale for 1979 for what you would get, but soap operas have their own contracts, so that I was not able to discern. But basically, Bobby was getting about $250 to $300 per episode over 2 to 3 weeks, basically. And now I know it's sad that he's no longer on the show, but he doesn't have to go back to the cab company so quickly. Maybe he can use some of that money to spend time auditioning everywhere. Maybe fly out to Los Angeles and see if he can't get a gig there.
The best point of all is, why did he have to go back to Sunshine Cab when he is so afraid of what Louis is going to do to him when he walks in? It just seems crazy to me. There must be at least 3 or 4 cab companies in the area. I guess he just wants to be there because his friends are there and whatever. There's this weird hold that Sunshine Cab has over their lives, which is a little unsettling. So then we cut to the garage the next day. This is a great back and forth between Alex and Louis. I think for me, this is my favorite part of the whole episode, what I'm about to talk about. So Alex takes Louis aside and explains Bobby's situation, that he got fired from the show and he's going to be coming in and he feels awful. Can you please just be a human about this and not give him a hard time? And Louis already knows, because he's a big fan of the show and he knows that Skip has been killed, and he's already licking his chops. And Alex tries to explain he's trying to reason with Louis. He explains Bobby's side of it, how painful losing your dream would be. But all of this talk just makes Louis more gleeful about the prospect of Bobby coming in and just tearing into him for how overconfident he was when he left. Alex just keeps asking Louis, just don't make Bobby feel any worse than he already does. This guy's already had a tough time of it. Just leave him be, let him move on. And Alex over and over is trying to appeal to Louis' human side to leave Bobby alone, but Louis is having none of it. And he is so over the top happy and gleeful about his cruelty that it sets Rieger off finally. Something snaps, and he says to Louis that, look, you've gone too far. And he proceeds to go apeshit on Louis. He wants to give Louis a lesson in humiliation. So for starters, he cuts Louis' tie in half with a pair of shears or scissors. And then he dumps motor oil down his pants right there in front of everybody. All of a sudden, like, Louis is like, oh, you're crazy. And he scurries off to his cage. And now Rieger is in full pursuit of Louis. Louis gets into the cage, locks the door. And of course, we know the cage is Louis' safe haven. So he starts to taunt Rieger. And he's just saying, like, he's a loser. He's doing this little dance where he's talking about how much of a loser Bobby is. And then that makes Rieger even crazier. And he pulls the grate off of the front of the cage, which Louis was not expecting. And he pulls Louis out bodily from the cage. To me, it felt real, right? He's pushed Rieger past the breaking point through his gleeful cruelty of what he wants to do to Bobby. It was so amazing to watch.
We've had hints of this rage in Rieger before. I'm not being funny. We've seen him sort of boiling in certain points. And what this episode taught me is I would never want to fuck with Judd Hirsch. Jesus Christ, man. He seems the perfect person to have ripped Andy Kaufman as Tony Clifton off of the set. I would not want to mess with him.
I believed his rage, his sort of red-eyed rage at Louis, and how Louis just wouldn't stop. He just wouldn't stop.
And I know it's just a prop thing with the grating on the cage coming off, but if it were actually bolted on there, I'm positive Judd Hirsch could have gotten it off.
Nothing was going to stop him from getting to Louis. Now, Alex has Louis by the shirt, like by the front of his shirt, and it looks like it's really going to become physical, like he's going to hit him. Alex warns Louis one more time, leave Bobby alone. And Louis asks him, well, is this a threat? He's like, not that it won't work, but are you threatening me? And then at that point, Alex comes to his senses. Like you see, all of a sudden, it's almost like he shakes his head, like, what am I doing here? How did I get to this point? I have Louis physically, I'm holding him, I'm ready to hit this guy. So he walks himself off the cliff, right? He backs off a little bit. And Louis presses Alex and says, well, why shouldn't I give Wheeler a hard time? Alex says this line. He says, because you shouldn't. And I swear there's almost a cry, like a tear in Hirsch's voice when he says it. He's so saddened by what Wheeler has gone through and what he's going to have to go through coming into the garage. It upsets him so much that he can't even really bear to talk about it. Like did you find that as well? Did you notice that?
Oh, absolutely. It's great. It's a fucking phenomenal emotional payoff for the scene, and that's because Hirsch delivers it that way. The notion of why you shouldn't do something because you shouldn't is a powerful one because Judd Hirsch makes it powerful.
But then to turn it around, then all of a sudden Louis is emboldened again somehow. And he starts going around going, oh, because I shouldn't. And he's openly mocking Rieger now. And Rieger is just, I think, because of the implied violence of the moment, Rieger just sits back down at the poker table and he can't even really bear to look at Louis at this point. And Louis is just being so awful, just running around saying, I shouldn't. He's laughing like to Louis, that's such a ridiculous reason why he should let Wheeler be off the hook on this thing, right? Then Wheeler finally arrives and you can see it on his face. He's not looking forward to this. He's ready for what Louis is going to unleash on him. And Louis still can't contain this. It's almost like a fury. It's taken over his body. He's ready to unload on Wheeler. But to everyone's shock, including my own, all of a sudden, Louis just goes up and says, nice having you back, Bobby. And then he almost inwardly cringes at himself. Like, how could I miss that opportunity to be cruel? What's wrong with me? Almost like he didn't expect to be sort of tender in that moment. It's a phenomenal moment. It's a phenomenal performance from Danny DeVito.
So that moment after Rieger implores him that he shouldn't because he shouldn't, when he's revving himself up, as it turns out, he's talking himself out of it. He's repeating the phrase over and over again, and it's sinking in, whether he likes it or not, to the point where he subconsciously or unconsciously just does the right thing. And that's the moment of shock. Oh my God, what? I can't believe I just did that.
Almost like the humanity just can't help but come out because he's finally, after wrangling with Rieger over this whole thing and things almost becoming so heated that he got, it explodes into physical violence almost. You're right. He finally, through this sort of performance that he puts on of why shouldn't I? I shouldn't. I think you're right. I think he talks himself out of it and realizes why it's not the right thing to do. Now we cut to the bumper of the episode, and I already alluded to this, where Wheeler is talking with Louis in the cage, and he's thanking Louis for not laying into him, for being nice to him when he came back. And Bobby says, I thought you'd be mean. And then we get to see Bobby break out his vintage Louis impression from the high school reunion episode a few episodes ago, and he gives Louis his impression of what he thought Louis would say to him. And then Louis says, Bobby, I wouldn't have said any of those things. And then he proceeds to throw all of the insults that that he wanted to say, including he breaks out the microphone, like he takes his little microphone down and announces. It's awesome. And what he basically does is humiliate Bobby in the way that he originally wanted to, but under the guise of, here's hypothetically how I would have insulted you, but I would never do that to you, Bobby. And I think his final line is, but I'm just too nice of a guy to do that. And then that's the end of the episode, and we fade to black.
Wheeler coming back to have to work at the cab company has to be terrifically bad, considering that he's already getting all the worst fares and all the worst cabs, the ones where the heaters don't work, the ones where the air conditioning doesn't work and the windows won't roll down. Remember from like 3 episodes ago?
That was Louis Sees the Light. You're right, because that Louis vowed, because of Bobby's casual cruelty, that he was going to be the second most loathsome cab driver in the garage. But as we always do, we're going to talk yellow lights.
What does a yellow light mean?
Just to remind everybody, this is a scale of 1 to 5 yellow lights, no half yellow lights allowed. 1 yellow light is this is the worst episode of Taxi I've ever seen. 5 yellow lights is this is an example of perfection in a Taxi episode. And I'm going to start with you, Father Malone. What are you going to give Bobby's Big Break? How many yellow lights?
Out of 5, this is a solid 3.
Yeah, you think it's 3? What?
Initially, I thought it was 2, but during the course of our discussion here, particularly with the third act, I think the first 2 acts are good, and then it's just what was a Bobby Wheeler episode actually turns out to be a Alex Rieger episode, and it's really about him and his dealings with Wheeler and his protection of him at his fallback job and the protection of his dreams. Listen, I knew we were in trouble when Wheeler literally says, "I'm gonna make it out of the garage" halfway through this episode. It's like, oh no, what? Don't be the aspirational episode. Those always end poorly, and I don't mean poorly in that the character goes back to square one. It's just like they're always kind of rote and boring. But this avoids all that. It's an aspirational episode where the third act is great. So 3 yellow lights.
I'm going to give this episode 4 yellow lights.
Near perfection, is that what you're saying? This is within spitting distance of an unassailable episode of Taxi in your mind?
It is, and I'll explain myself here because I know that's what you're going to say next. It's yes, this is another in a series of Bobby's acting travails. I know on a personal level, Father Malone, you hate the aspirational episodes. I know this, but I don't think it's overdone in this case. Conaway does a great job as Bobby, both Bobby and the deliberately stiff and overacting Skip. But for me, if that was it, if it was just, dealing with Bobby and his disappointment, I probably would have given it 2 to 3 yellow lights. But for me, there's 2 things that raise it up a full yellow light for me. It's a combination of both Hirsch and DeVito that take the cake in this episode. First of all, DeVito gets to deliver his quintessential James Caan speech. That, to me, is a classic bit of Taxi right there. The second reason why I give this 4 yellow lights is Louis' fight with Alex, to me, is truly a classic. Hirsch, as we've already talked about, he is awesome in this scene. The way he goes from calm reason to desperate pleading, from rage to empathy, it's a marvel. And you, not for 1 minute, do you not believe Hirsch as Alex doing what he does, trying to advocate for Bobby, and DeVito just matching him beat for beat. And you think it's going to go one way and it doesn't, and it goes a slightly different way. The episode, I would have loved to have seen more action because it's not the most dynamic of episodes, right? A lot of what happens takes place off screen, if we're being honest. And if I'm really being honest, looking ahead, you cannot have a perfect Taxi episode without one missing ingredient. I think you and I both know what that ingredient is. It's Reverend Jim. You cannot have a perfect episode without Reverend Jim. Not to say this would have been perfect with him, but I think this is a better than average episode of Taxi.
Point of order. What if Reverend Jim was in the scene instead of, say, Randall Carver's aggressive dopiness? What's it beyond? I don't know yet. Okay.
It wouldn't have just been a matter of him stealing a bit of thunder in a way that Burns wouldn't have. They would have come up with some funny stuff for Reverend Jim to do, some confusion around what a soap opera is. Maybe he's a fan. Maybe it would have lifted the episode up even more, right? Because let's face it, Burns doesn't bring things to the table. He actively takes things off of the table of the episode. So there's no way that this could have been a perfect Taxi episode. But simply on the basis of those 2 aspects that I just talked about, 3 is a solid average episode, but I think this is slightly above average. And that's why I give it 4 yellow lights.
Well, I agree with everything you said, but you are correct. I have a natural distaste for aspirational episodes, so it automatically goes to 2 yellow lights, but everything else is so good in the episode that does bump it up a full yellow light to 3.
We're not worlds apart. This isn't like Angela, right? This isn't like Blind Date where all of a sudden we it's like we're questioning what's happening here. So, but overall, I think we can agree this is a very, very solid episode of Taxi, one that I would not hesitate to revisit. I think there's some wonderful acting, some great character bits. And so we're talking 3 and 4 yellow lights. So that will do it for this episode of Night, Mr. Walters. Father Malone, when you're not clocked into the garage, where can folks find you?
You can find me at fathermalone.com, or you can find me at weirdingwaymedia.com, where all of my podcast associations occur, including Midnight Viewing, where we are currently reviewing Night Gallery, the Rod Serling Follow-Up to the Twilight Zone. You can hear me over on Noise Junkies, a music podcast with HP and Mondo Heather's Heather Drain. We all do together. Check out our Bowie episode. It's really fucking good.
It was great. A lot of fun to record. And I would also advocate for checking out Dark Destinations, Father Malone's audio drama podcast. If you like good storytelling, you can do no better than check that out. Kind. Oh, come on now. And as for myself, as Father Malone said, you can hear me on Noise Junkies as well. I've done a little bit here and there on the Culture Cast with Chris Dashew. And I have a Bandcamp site called hpmusicplace.bandcamp.com. Not much up there yet, but hopefully some stuff coming pretty soon. But feel free to check that out and see what you think. So that's going to do it for myself and for Father Malone. Thank you again for listening, and we will see you guys next time.
Night, Mr. Walters.
Hello and welcome to Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys. My name is Hunter. In this podcast, I'll be joined by a different guest each week to discuss a classic Western movie or TV show. I've been a fan of classic Westerns for as long as I can remember, and in recent years, they've become very nostalgic for me. I love the aesthetic, the tropes, and I love seeing different filmmakers' takes on them. At their best, they're incredibly entertaining, rewatchable, and some of my all-time favorite movies are Westerns. We'll mostly focus on Western movies made in Hollywood, but we'll also be covering spaghetti Westerns, and one thing I'm very excited to get into are Western TV shows. I've got some amazing guests coming on the show, film professors, historians, and podcasters. And Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys is part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, and many guests on the show will be from other shows on the network. Thanks for listening.